Good evening. The opinions and statements voiced by our guests do not necessarily reflect the opinions of this network. Enjoy the shows.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
We've been expecting you.
It's Monday. Time for our maven of the supernatural, Denise Pridemore. This is the Paranormal Pride. Join to listen and chat live on WBHM-DB.com or Spreaker app. Search WBHM-DB every Monday at 7 p.m. Central for your supernatural paranormal fix. Welcome to the Paranormal Pride, where the show is about the guest and the listener.
Welcome to the Paranormal Pride. I'm your host, Denise Pridemore, and tonight my guest is Kelly McCarville Moonspinner. She is an excellent guest. I probably don't even have to talk tonight. This is going to be that easy of a show. She knows a lot. In fact, Ron really loves Kelly. He came back downstairs after her presentation at Mineral Springs and says, "You've got to have her on." And I was like, I sat there and I thought, and I go, I think I got her booked. But I ran over to her and I said, "I need to get you booked for my show." And she goes, you have me booked for in July. And it was like, I guess it was like the first week in July. And we had something happen. And I was like, okay, not a big deal, but we took care of it, right? So not a big deal. But apparently you impressed Ron so much that he came downstairs and told me I had to book you.
Aw, well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is, because, when it comes to medium type stuff, he's actually a very hard person to convince.
Well, that makes me feel even better. Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he's married to me, and I have some of that stuff, and he still looks at me like I'm purple with orange hair. So I don't know.
Yeah. So we get a lot of those looks.
So that is, you have to take that for what that's worth, because that's really a big compliment coming from him. So I'm going to start with the standard question. What got you involved in the paranormal medium type activities that you're doing nowadays?
So I was actually born with abilities. My primary ability is claircognizance, so I just know things. And when I was a little girl, I had it at that time. I just didn't know that it was anything different. I assumed everybody knew things the way that I did. I assumed everybody knew when the phone was going to ring and would answer it before it started ringing, or would know who was on the other end of the line without them speaking, So the psychic medium side of things, it's always been there. But it wasn't until I was in middle school that it started, I hate saying becoming a problem, but basically that's it. It had started becoming a problem because I'm an empath as well, and emotions and people's feelings and everything started getting overwhelming, and I had to start learning what was going on with me and how to control it, and how to not feel everything that everybody was feeling. And just to add to it, at that same time, right in middle school, we moved from our little house into a much bigger house that was haunted. So you take the abilities that I had and moving into a haunted house, I had to start learning about it. And I was lucky enough to have a mom that was super supportive And so we started, as I was a teenager, just going out like a lot of people do, to graveyards and old abandoned buildings, or, my aunt had a farm that we'd go out there, and just kind of started doing some of our very inexperienced paranormal investigating, and it's grown from there.
I totally understand all of that, because I've witnessed that type of stuff myself. So that is truly interesting. The other questions that I have for you are, hopefully it will be as easy for you to answer. So after that, how did you get started on getting out there in public with people about all this?
Yeah, that was much harder. Figuring out who you are on your own in the background and learning to be comfortable with you, that's one thing. But to put yourself out there and say, hey, this is who I am and this is what I can do. It was kind of like you were saying, people look at you like you have flaming polka dotted hair and horns, and it's scary, It took me a long time. I had my abilities and I knew what I could do with them, what I could do and what I couldn't do. But I stayed hidden in the broom closet for a really, really long time because I didn't want people to look at me funny or think I was weird. But I started doing readings and stuff for like family and friends, just my really close family and friends at first. And then I kind of branched out and thought, okay, well, I can do like online readings where people don't really know who I am. So they're not here where I have to look them in the eye or work with them, and it's just kind of progressed from there. And it was, we keep trying to figure this out, and someday I'm going to have to stop and really figure out how long ago it was. But I was at a metaphysical fair, and there were some things that were going on in my life that it was not a wonderful time in my life. And I was kind of lost trying to figure out what my purpose was. And while I'm walking through this fair, I had this guy walk up to me just out of the blue, didn't know him. And he's like, your spirit guide told me I had to come over here and talk to you. You've got these abilities. You're not embracing them as much as you should yet. You need to start reading for people, helping people, and you will be here next year doing this show. I'm like, uh-huh. And I kept on walking. Wasn't very much later, here comes another lady up to me. And she says, I know you don't know me, but my spirit guide and your spirit guide told me that I had to come and talk to you. And that you have abilities that you're not in. I mean, basically that same thing that the first guy had told me. Now, I'm not the most trusting person sometime, and I eyeball her. I'm like, do you know Duncan? And she's like, well, yeah, because I'm the president of this event and he's one of my vendors, but why? And I'm like, because he just came up and told me the same thing. Are you guys like working together here? She's like, no. So she walked away, and now I'm kind of thinking about it, but still like, yeah, whatever. And I walk on a little bit further, and here comes this third guy up to me. And he had the most amazing energy in the world. And he's like, we need to talk. We need to sit down and we need to talk. And my spirit guide and your spirit guide, again, same message, has told me, you need to be doing this. You need to be helping people. One lesson I've learned throughout my entire path of doing all of this, 3 is my number. When I get a message 3 times, I darn well better pay attention, because that's when things are going to start getting ornery if I don't pay attention at that point. I didn't know it then. I know it now. But we sat down and we talked, and this third guy kind of like became my mentor, and, started telling me that it's scary to come out of the closet and to say, hey, I'm a psychic. This is what I can do. But when I finally did, it was so freeing. It was like all those pieces of me that had been missing for so many years, and all those pieces of me that that I felt like I was hiding who I was, all of a sudden I wasn't hiding myself anymore. And it was amazing. It was like, this is what I am supposed to be doing. They were right. And I finally figured out where I was supposed to go with things. And I am grateful every single day that happened, and that I've been given the opportunity to help people. So now I know that, I've merged that in with the paranormal investigating, and I'm just listening to my guidance. Now my path at the moment is to help the spirits, help share their stories, help share their messages. So that's what I'm doing.
When you say share their stories, are you saying they're historical stories or the stories they tell you?
It's both. I love to have the historical side of things to back things up. So a lot of times when I go into a location to do an investigation, I will try to go in as blind as possible. I want to know as little about the location as I can prior to doing my first walkthrough. I do that partially because I'm always testing myself. I am a skeptical believer for everything. And so I want to make sure that I'm not being led, that the information that I've been supplied isn't influencing the messages or the impressions that I'm getting from a location. So I will go through and I'll get my information. I'll talk to the spirits that are there. I'll get their stories, but then we'll go and we'll back that up with the history as much as possible, because I think that the history of the locations is just as important as any message that they can give me, and anytime that we can back up the information that I've been given with historical facts, that supports both sides of things. It's going to support not only that these things occurred there, but that the messages that I'm getting, the stories that I'm passing along, there's validity to that. An example of that is we were just a couple weeks ago, we had an opportunity to investigate a building that had never been investigated before, and it was being torn down the next week. So we were the first and only group that was going to be getting in there. And towards the end of the night, we were up on the third floor, and I had a spirit start telling me about a fire. And at the same time, we had a communication device going, and we started getting some words through there too. After I'd said fire, they started talking about it. And I was getting the information that there had been a fire in the building, and that it had been set by one of the patients, and that there was a lady who had died who was also a patient. And we got boiler or furnace, I can't remember which came through, on the communication box. And I said, so it started in the boiler room. And the spirit that I was talking to said, no, that was the second fire. The first fire was set by a patient. So I'm logging all of this information away, just kind of making note of it. The group that I'm with is making note of everything that we're getting through the spirit that's talking to me and the communication device. Come to find out from talking to the gal that was in charge of the building who knew all the history, there had in fact been 2 fires. Actually, there had been 3, but they only talked about 2 of them. The first one was set by a patient, and there was a patient that was died who passed away, and it was a female. And there was a second fire that started, they said in the furnace room, he said the boiler room. Same difference, I'm sure, but
Yes.
But yeah. So, that just adds that validity that you really do have a spirit here, because he told me all of this, and you can back it up with these newspaper articles. So yeah, kind of cool.
That's kind of how I do it. I go into a location, I know nothing the first time I go.
Right.
The second time I go, I may know a whole lot more.
Right.
I will research it after that. But like this past weekend, we went into a location I've never been before. Only thing I looked up was address, and found a couple things online. But all it was, hey, this paranormal group felt like this.
Right.
These things happened. Only one investigation had ever been put out online about this place.
Right.
And it was like, well, this is totally useless because it doesn't tell me anything other than, hey, we had this experience. I'm like, okay, well, that doesn't tell me anything. It's not going to make me have any preconceived notions.
Right.
Because I know that I don't always have the same feelings that other paranormal investigators get. So it's like, okay. So, but on the way, or the night before, I had this guy come to me, gave me a name, just his first name. But the funny thing is on the way there, we went by this graveyard, and that same guy was standing next to a headstone.
Oh, really? Cool.
So when we got there, I don't have internet unless I go down the street. Mm-hmm. So finally, after a little bit of time, I went down the street and I looked up this guy's first name and his last name, and I found him. And everything matched up to what he had told me at home and some of the things that he had told me while I was there. So it was funny. But I'd never had a spirit tell me one thing at home, and then on the way, basically say, hey, this is my last name. This is my headstone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I don't normally pay attention to the names when we're driving by. You know, why would I?
Right, yeah. You know, I mean, you look at it, but you don't pay that close of attention. I get it. No,
but I saw it, and I kind of said something to my husband, but I didn't say anything like, hey, look. But I kind of jumped a little bit and pointed. But when we were standing there, I was talking to Carl, who's in the chat room. I said, what's the name of that cemetery down the road? I said, there's one, it says, you know, I'm not going to say where it is, but it's just 5 miles down the road from where we were at.
Right.
So I look it up on Google Maps, and lo and behold, it's the cemetery we went by.
Oh, wow.
So I'm just sitting there going, okay, well, now I got to, of course, put all this information together for him to give to the person that we were investigating for to have. And now I've got to go and research and find out some more, because it's really that interesting when, I don't know for you, but for me, once they tell me something about their life, I want to go find out more about their life.
Right.
So, because apparently they wanted to tell me something. That couldn't have just been it.
Yeah, and I fall down horrible rabbit holes when I do start doing the history research or starting learning the stories about things, because I love it, and I'll start getting so involved in it and doing so much that it's like, sometimes I have to stop myself because I get a little out of control. But I love the history side of it, and it's so much fun to be able to have that backup and just to be able to know that you're sharing information or sharing the stories that maybe would be lost with time if we weren't there to help keep them going, you know?
Especially in towns that are dying.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, I don't know if this town's dying that I was in, but it didn't look like it was thriving. Okay. That's what I'm gonna say. It didn't look like it was going to be putting in a Chuck E. Cheese next week or anything like that. You know, so, but that's just my impression.
Right.
We're up to our first break. So everyone, if you guys have questions for Kelly, please put them in either of the chats, and I will make sure that I ask those questions to Kelly. And, you know, nothing's off limits, she said. So if it's something if I already know in advance I can't ask it, I just won't ask it, so don't take it personally. But if you have questions for her, please go ahead and put them in the chat. I will ask the questions. We're going to talk about her events. We're going to talk about some of her philosophies and some other things. So you're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting. We'll be back in 3 minutes with Kelly McCarville.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
In today's breaking news, over 1.8 million people have signed a petition that is circulating throughout social media and online, pledging to raid Area 51 in hopes of freeing any extraterrestrials that could be on site. also seeking full disclosure from the U.S. government. Could anything actually come of this? What could be the outcome? Find out on our continuing coverage at 9 p.m. here on WBHM-DB Action News.
You're kidding, right? Most of those people could have raided a refrigerator if it weren't for it having a light in there. How about this? For some real information that you can use, instead of the other, sources, stay here where you are, on WBHM-DB, Birmingham, Alabama. To the believer, the evidence is overwhelming. To the skeptic, there will never be enough. Hello, everyone. Join Kevin and Jennifer Malik, the host of Paraversal Universe, every Friday here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting. Also heard on WCET-FM and The Rift. Log on or tune in as they check out the mysteries found within the 8 categories of the unknown and unexplained, including ghosts and haunted places, aliens and UFOs, theology and mythology, cryptids and monsters, urban legends and folklore, conspiracies, metaphysics, and forbidden archaeology. Listen as Kevin and Jennifer interview the top minds in their respective fields as they share theories and information regarding these unsolved mysteries. For future show and archive information, one can find Paraversal Universe on Facebook, Twitter, and MeWe under various Paraversal Universe headings. So, for excellent talk radio about the unknown and unexplained, check out Paraversal Universe, where all paranormal perspectives apply. Brought to you by the Northern Wisconsin Paranormal Society, Ltd., and produced by WBHM-DB.com.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 23 minutes after the hour.
Welcome back to the Paranormal Pride. I'm here tonight with Kelly McCarville, and in case you guys didn't know, I'm Denise Pridemore, because I forgot to tell you that. So, I forgot my own name. Who'd have thunk? But like I said, if you guys have any questions in either chat, please put it out there, and I will make sure your questions get asked. If they get missed, I hope you will repost them so I can see them, because chat moves rather quickly. But earlier today, Kelly,
Yeah.
Somebody made a post on Facebook, and I happened to see it, and which is unusual during the day because I'm working, but I happened to see it, and the question was, they asked if these apps were any good, if you could talk to spirits through apps, and your answer was not 99% of them are crap.
Right. Yep.
That's just in a nutshell.
Yeah. So
what about that 1%?
So the thing about the applications and pretty much anything that we use, first off, there's no proof. There's no proof that any of it works. But a lot of and this is all my opinion, guys, I'll say the same things I say on my own shows. I'm going to share what my personal truth is with you guys. It's not meant to offend anybody. So if you don't agree with me, that's okay. Please don't attack. Most of the applications, especially phone applications that are going to be out there, are for entertainment purposes only. They're put together to be something that may potentially work, but they really want them to work and have people be impressed with them. So they're going to set up their programming and their algorithms in ways that make them work better than others. Doesn't necessarily mean they're connecting with the spirits, but you're going to get more results. An SB7, I know that is a go-to tool for a lot of teams. I don't use them. And there's several reasons for that. The biggest one, honestly, is because for whatever reason, when an SB7 box or an SB11, whatever, gets turned on, there is something about that noise, something about that method that messes with my energy. And I start getting like a really bad case of vertigo, and the room starts spinning, and I get a little sick to my tummy. So I can't be around them anyways. But think of what they're doing. They're cycling through radio stations. They're cycling through channels that have words coming out of them. So the likelihood that a word is going to come through is higher. Now, I get it, guys. I know that they're cycling fast. I know that they shouldn't come through as fast as they're cycling. And I know that if you get a full phrase out of it, that shouldn't work that way. I get all of that. The reason that I will support the applications that I use is there's 3 of them, but they're all created by the same gentleman. His name is Keith Weldon. And the applications are Spiritus, Necrophonic, and Deadwave. And here's the reasons that I like these applications. First off, you can have your phone on airplane mode. You don't have to be connected to the internet. You don't have to be connected to any radio stations. You don't have to have any service at all.
Perfect.
It's just your phone. There are also no words programmed into any of those programs. There's sound banks. And those sound banks are full of phonetic sounds. So la, ta, ka, ba, da. So if it says, hello, Kelly, it has to put together a lot of those phonetic sounds to make that phrase. Even then, so I said before, I'm a skeptical believer. My day job, guys, I'm an accountant type person at an aero defense company. So I'm a very right, left brain person. Even knowing that there's no words programmed into it, I would still go, yeah, I believe it a whole lot more, but am I sure? Well, here's where I don't have anything that I can prove this other than trust me. But when I'm using the Spiritus or the Necrophonic, they will start answering a question through the application, and then they'll finish it where I hear it, but it doesn't come through the box. Or they'll do it the other way around, that they start answering a question where I'm hearing it, but we'll get like the tail end or a couple words of the sentence that they're saying to me that comes through the application. To me, that adds so much more validity to that application, because I know from what I can do that it's most definitely working. So that's why I would say take most applications with a grain of salt. Try them out, see how they go. If you have to work really, really, really hard to get something out of it, it's probably not working very well.
Okay. You said Spiritus and Necrophonic, and what was the other one?
The last one is called Deadwave, and he put those out in that order. So Spiritus was first, Necrophonic was second, and Deadwave actually came out a month and a half ago or so. It's fairly new, and to be honest, I don't have it figured out completely yet. There's so many extra settings on this one. It's that whole technology challenge thing that we were talking about.
Yeah.
I have to figure out how to use it, and I have to be comfortable with it before I'm going to 100% say this is a good application too. And I just haven't had enough time to play with it. I go into it trusting it because it's built by Keith, but I can't tell you 100% because I just haven't had enough opportunity to practice with it yet. So if that makes any sense at all.
It makes sense. You're a lot like me. I do a job that's all data.
Uh-huh.
So I also write computer code. So I look at computer code and I can go, these words are built into this. So if I tell you guys Ghost Radar is crap, take my word for it because I've looked at the code. It's not like I'm saying that because I want to say that I want to call out things to be junk. I'm saying that, first of all, because it says it's for entertainment purposes only. It does not say that it's to be used for ghost hunting. That's the first thing. If it has to use, something has to use your internet to work when you're in an environment, I can see it needing to have the internet to update itself. But if you have to use the internet or location settings while you are using it, you've got a problem. Because at that point, it's triangulating where you are. And I mean, I don't know how many times I'm going to explain that to people, but it's using Google to triangulate where you are based on location. And it can just pull out random words from random newspapers and say something that might mean something to you. You know, so that's why every device I use on an investigation will never, ever have internet on it except at my house. You know, I use my Wi-Fi at home.
Yep.
So that's important. And if it has to utilize my mic, that means it's listening to you. So always turn off your mic. One of the questions in the Spreaker chat has to do with, let me get back to it. How does a spirit put it together? Do you know how that works? Or is that a technical thing that you don't know anything about? You just know it happens.
So I by no means am any sort of a programmer. I couldn't tell you how an algorithm works to save my life, but I think they work the same way that any spirit communication works. They have to use their energy to manipulate the device, in this case the sound banks, to put together the words that they want to have come out. And I'm pretty hardcore about the responses that I get, because I know when I've got it out and I'm showing it to other people, they'll be shouting out things that they think they hear, and unless it's like really clear, I kind of throw it out.
Yeah, because you can have pareidoia of the ear. Right.
Yeah, and it's, you know, I can't remember who said it, but, you know, when in doubt, throw it out. And it's like, yeah, I don't ever want to present anything that I'm not comfortable enough to stand behind it and confidently say, that's something, you know? But that's a me thing. And there are times where I think I hear more. I absolutely think I hear more. And, but if I think I hear something and it doesn't come through super clear, I'll ask and say, you know, can you say that again? Maybe a little louder, a little clearer. Sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. It just depends on how much energy that spirit has, I think.
I think so as well. So boy, we're just got a lot of things just right on top of each other. I wish we'd had more time to talk at Mineral Springs, but we know how that all worked out for now.
Right.
So I ended up getting to work it as opposed to getting to run around and play, and which was my plan. But my plans don't always come together as good as I'd like. But so I put all that in the one chat. The other chat already had it going, so that was good. So if Spiritus is $12.99 on Android, Necrophonic is $9.99 on Android, and Deadwave is $10.99. So you can get all three of them for about $30.
Yep. Yeah.
Combined. So there you go. Easy peasy, ready to go. I mean, this past weekend, you want to hear something funny? When we went to go investigate, my daughter calls us. We are 12 miles from the hotel that we were staying at for our investigation on Saturday night. We're stuck in traffic. She calls and she says, "Did you need this computer back?" And I was like, "Yeah." I look in the back seat and it's like, "Great, we left without any equipment."
Oops.
So, yeah. So the only equipment we had happened to be some flashlights that happened to be in our car. And luckily, Carl had anything we could have needed and my cell phone. So we had to be prepared to take, recordings with our cell phone. We were Ghost Brothers for the night. Me and Ron did everything on our cell phone. So it was very interesting to be without the things I'm used to having. But, as a medium, do you find yourself not using the equipment a lot of the time?
Well, and that's what I was going to say is don't forget the most important piece of equipment that you had with you, and that's you. Mm-hmm. I think that the tools are great. They are. But it's so important to pay attention to the things that you're feeling, that you're picking up. I lead a lot of public events and public investigations, and I do intuitive retreats too. And I am constantly encouraging people, put down the devices and go investigate just you first. Do a walkthrough. Take note of what you're feeling. Take note of how this particular room makes you feel, because we can get so distracted with our everyday lives and with the tools that we have in our hands that we could have an experience that we completely miss because we're not allowing ourselves to use our senses. So I think it's really important not to forget what an amazing tool you have in you and your senses. I can't remember what your question was and if that answered it.
No, that's perfect. You know what? Until I re-listen to the show, I won't remember what the question I had was either.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter. So, but the next question we have is from Carl from Caldwell County Paranormal Team up in Caldwell County, Missouri. He asks, do you ever use
Do I ever use what? I'm sorry.
Dowsing rods?
I have used dowsing rods in the past, and I 100% believe in the dowsing rods and the ability for them to work. I struggle using them because I don't feel like I'm holding still. And I don't know what the difference is between the dowsing rods and a pendulum, because I'll use a pendulum and I know that I'm holding still and that it's working fine. But for whatever reason with dowsing rods, I always feel like I'm moving.
I understand.
So I'm not opposed to using them, and I definitely love to see other people use them. But it's not usually a go-to for me just because of my lack of confidence in my ability to do it without interfering. But I'll encourage other people to use them. We were doing, I had a public event. I'm trying to remember if it was an investigation or a retreat. I can't remember. But we were at the Granger house, and they have a carriage house out in the back, and we had 3 set of dowsing rods that were there with us. And we went out to this carriage house. So there were 3 different people holding the dowsing rods, and they're holding them out from their bodies just as far as they can, because every single one of them is like helicopter spinning. And it was the craziest thing. And I watched their hands. Everybody else watched their hands. It was on tape. They were not moving, It was interesting. Definitely.
I've seen that happen before.
Yeah. And I've seen it happen with like one of the rods or one set of the rods, but for 3 different sets with 3 different people all at the same time, that was pretty cool. And it was so funny because one of the gals that was holding them, she was very skeptic. She was very, very skeptic walking into it. And she's holding those dowsing rods. And again, she's having to hold them just as far out from her body as she can so they're not getting hit with them. And her face was like this mixture of awe and terror. And I don't know if I like this. So it was the funniest thing.
I understand.
Yeah.
That's the part of the reason why I don't like the dowsing rods that have anything on them, because they can do that and you can make them do that on your own. I'm sorry, but there are people out there that are unscrupulous and I can force my dowsing rods to spin. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All I got to do is think, and they're going to spin.
Right.
Because we all do have a little bit of that PK ability in us, but you can also just move just slightly, and if your rods are not balanced just right, they're going to spin like a helicopter. And again, I'm a skeptical believer like you. So unless I know the person personally, I'm going to be wondering, what are they doing? It's just like you feel more comfortable with a pendulum because you know that you can control that a lot better and not make it move.
Well, see, and that's what I was going to say, though, actually, is I can make a pendulum move, too.
Right, but you know how to control it.
Right.
From moving on, from you moving it.
Right.
Same as with dowsing rods. I know how to keep them from me moving them. So I know how to fool them, but I also know how to keep them still.
And I have to do that with everything. Like even anytime before I use a pendulum, I always put this little silent prayer out, if that's what you want to call it, just that, I only want truthful, non-biased answers. Don't let my thoughts, opinions, or energy influence the answers or move this pendulum,
Right.
Because I know that I can hold it and I can say spin in a circle and it'll spin in a circle. So yeah, and I don't know why I lack the confidence then for dowsing rods, because I'd say the same thing, but I don't know. I just don't feel as stable with them. It's just a me thing.
I'll tell you, I've trained a lot of people on how to use dowsing rods, and I tell everybody all the time, I have a collection of dowsing rods. I have probably had more dowsing rods than one person needs. I can only use one set at a time. But it's just, there are certain things that when you're using them, you just have to be really cognizant of. You also have to be cognizant, even with a pendulum, of other people's thoughts as well.
Yep.
And what are you trying? It's just like using any other device to speak to spirits. What are your intentions? What are you trying to get out of it? And at this point, we are at our next break. So everyone, if you have any questions, please put those in the chats, and I will make sure I get those questions asked, because this show is as much for you, the listener, as it is for Kelly to get her information out there to all of you. So you're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting in Birmingham, Alabama, and we will be back in 2 minutes. So we'll be waiting here for you when you get back, everyone.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama. To the believer, the evidence is overwhelming. To the skeptic, there will never be enough. Hello, everyone. Join Kevin and Jennifer Melick, the host of Paraversal Universe, every Friday here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting, also heard on WCET-FM and The Rift. Log on or tune in as they check out the mysteries found within the 8 categories of the unknown and unexplained, including ghosts and haunted places, aliens and UFOs, theology and mythology, cryptids and monsters, urban legends and folklore, conspiracies, metaphysics, and forbidden archaeology. Listen as Kevin and Jennifer interview the top minds in their respective fields as they share theories and information regarding these unsolved mysteries. For future show and archive information, one can find Paraversal Universe on Facebook, Twitter, and MeWe under various Paraversal Universe headings. So, for excellent talk radio about the unknown and unexplained, check out Paraversal Universe, where all paranormal perspectives apply. Brought to you by the Northern Wisconsin Paranormal Society, LTD, and produced by WBHM-DB.com.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 45 minutes after the hour.
Welcome back to the Paranormal Pride. I'm your host, Denise Pridemore, and my guest tonight is Kelly McCarville, Moonspinner. And before we lose anybody out there, I wanted to make sure that we tell people how to find you, Kelly. We still got another hour to go, of course, but I know that it's nice to have that out there.
Sure.
So why don't you tell people where they can find you?
So by far my most active place to find me is going to be on Facebook, and it's under Kelly McCarville -Moonspinner. I am also on Instagram and Twitter under Moonspinner76. I have a website at mysticalmoonspinner.com. I have a few videos out on YouTube, not a ton, but I'm working on it every day. And that's just under my name, Kelly McCarville. What else? So, and then I host 2 podcasts a week. Friday nights, I co-host with Shay, and it's Shay's Paranormal Chat. And we're starting up season 2 around the 1st of September. And Wednesday nights is my own show called The Realm Walker, again on Spreaker. And that's at 8 p.m. Central Standard Times. So, yeah, I'm out there all over the place.
Well, perfect. That's good to know. So, because I knew about Shay's Paranormal Chat, and I don't know if I knew about the other one, because I'm always so busy on Wednesday nights, because I listen to this lovely show on WBHM-DB.com called Paranormal Experience with Kat Hobson. So needless to say, I'm a little bit busy that night.
Yeah.
So when I look at your webpage, I see that you guys do a whole bunch of things. You do a bunch of paranormal and psychic expos.
We do.
You also do intuitive retreats.
Yes. Yeah. So the expos we've been doing for 8 years now. This is our 8th year, and they're called the Psychic and Paranormal Expos. We have one in we had one in Waterloo this year. We're hoping to do it again, but we're trying to find a new venue because the last one was horrible. The show was amazing. The vendors were amazing. The guests were amazing. The service at the venue, not so good. But Waterloo, Dubuque, Cedar Rapids, we have our Ames one coming up at the end of September, and then our Quad City show November 16th and 17th. And those usually have anywhere from 55 to 70 vendors, and you're going to find a little bit of everything. It'll have psychics, mediums, healers, rocks, gems, jewelry, singing bowls, salt lamps, paranormal teams, haunted locations, just kind of a little bit of everything. So, yeah,
Wow.
They're super fun. As you guys are finding out, a lot of work, but super fun.
Along with your regular job, too.
Yes.
Wow.
I work full time. But then I do also host, once a month I teach an intuition class just to help other people start learning how to use their own intuition to get in touch with it and figure out what they can and what they can't do. And then I'll also, on top of that, teach an intuitive retreat. And those are super fun. It's usually a full day class or an overnight class where we'll go out to a location like the Granger House or the Mason House Inn or Renwick Mansion in Davenport. And I teach them a bunch of different types of intuition. We'll teach them psychometry. We'll teach them pendulums. We'll teach them tarot, sometimes mediumship, just a little bit of anything. And then we use those things. It gives them an opportunity to learn about it and practice in a group setting. But then they also get to go and explore this haunted location using those intuition abilities that they just learned and practiced, all in a safe environment where we know that the spirits that are there like to interact and they're not going to cause them any harm. So they're super fun, and everybody seems to walk away having gotten something out of them. And I've gotten a lot of friends out of those. So I love it. And I love to watch the people leave from those events, and then you see them continue to be friends afterwards. It's the best thing.
So you said something during that leads to a question from Rhodey. She's a friend of ours down in Texas. And she says, she wanted to ask a question. And she says, does Kelly use tarot cards? She goes, I asked because, she and her friend go round and round about this because she believes that they're random and don't have any meaning sometimes. And of course, the other person believes that they're the real thing. So I know that everything has two schools of belief, at least two.
Yep.
So do you, you said you just said that you teach
Right. Yep.
tarot. So what is your thoughts on that?
I wholeheartedly believe in the tarot cards. I believe that they can definitely help offer that guidance to whatever questions or situations that you're asking about. And here's where my proof of that came from. When I started doing readings for people, I lacked confidence doing them. And I started out doing tarot readings. So I'd have my deck of cards and I'd shuffle them and I'd get my layout in front of me and I'd look at the first card and I'd start talking about that first card. Well, I'm a talker, and I would start telling them the information, the feelings that I was getting, giving them this information off the card. And all of a sudden we're 20 minutes into things and I'm like, I've got 11 more cards to go through. I better get on this, right? So I'd go back to the rest of the cards that are on the table. I'd already talked about the things that were in the other cards. So I discovered for me that the tarot cards were more of an assistant tool, or I mean, you could even call it like it was a crutch for me. It was something that made me be more comfortable with providing those readings, because it gave me something besides just me to get that information from. But I'll tell you what, guys, if I still do tarot readings for people. I love doing tarot readings. I think it was Denise was saying she had more dowsing rods than one person should have. We won't talk about how many decks of tarot cards I have. It's a little out of control. But if I'm asking questions about myself, or if I'm looking for guidance for myself for a situation, I absolutely pull out my tarot cards or my oracle cards. I actually lean more towards oracle cards than I do tarot cards. Not for any particular reason other than they speak to me more than the tarot cards do. But yeah, I wholeheartedly believe that they work. And it's kind of like, I think Pat said it in chat on Spreaker, tarot, like anything else, you still need to use your intuition. It truly is. It's a tool for you to tap into your intuition. Same as the dowsing rod, same as a pendulum, same as a spirit box, same as a Ouija board, same as anything, I mean, it's a tool to tap into things. There's a lot of different beliefs people have about tarot cards. Like, you're not supposed to buy your own decks. It's supposed to be gifted to you. You shouldn't have more than one. Don't let anybody else touch your cards. Whatever makes you happy, go ahead and go with it. But like I said, I've got easily 40 decks. People use my cards all the time. I've bought the majority of them myself. It's all good.
Well, here's a follow-up question now. Do you believe a person has to be as sensitive or a medium to use the cards? Or do they only, and she finish that off, maybe they only work for folks with abilities? I have a thought on that, but go ahead, you answer it.
My answer is going to surprise you. Yes, I think you need to have intuition to use tarot cards. But every single person has intuition. Every single person does. It's a matter of how much the person chooses to embrace that ability and grow that ability, how easy it is for them. Nobody sits down at the piano and plays Mozart the very first time. They have to practice with it. They have to have a desire to learn about it. Anybody can sit down and push a key on that piano, though, and it's going to play a note.
Yeah, right. So, it may not play a song.
Right.
Actual music that's going to play a note. So, again, we're on the same page.
Yeah. And everybody has to think, there has to be a time in your life that you thought, man, I haven't seen so-and-so. And then all of a sudden you run into them. Or you think, oh, I should give my mom a call. And then the phone rings and it's your mom. We brush so many things off as coincidence, or we don't even notice it's coincidence because we're so busy that we don't realize that was our intuition that just talked to us. So step one of learning your intuition is slow down and pay attention to these things. Don't brush everything off. With that said, some people are going to have a stronger natural ability to things. So, to go back to the example of playing the piano, there are some people who are going to sit down and they're going to be able to pick that up far, far quicker than someone else does, or that it will just be more natural to them. So there are people who are more gifted than others, definitely, because it's just something that they were gifted with as a natural ability for them. But that doesn't mean that every single person doesn't have a little bit.
So we have another question. This is from Tom. If Kelly knows a person, does it hinder her reading for that person?
It can influence the reading, and I try really hard not to let it influence the reading, but it definitely can. My mom gets very frustrated with me. My mom's in chat. That's Pat Kraft, Mama Pat. That's what everybody calls her. She gets very, very frustrated with me because I won't read for her.
Right.
And the reason that I won't read for her is she's my best friend. I know everything about her and she knows everything about me. And because I'm so close to her, it's really, really hard for me not to let there be a biased answer in there,
right.
But I've done this long enough and I've practiced this long enough to know when it's my feelings, my thoughts, or when it's information that I'm being given, that I usually can tell the difference. And when it is somebody that I know, I just have to be more diligent of making sure that I'm not letting my thoughts and desires, my opinions influence those answers. But it still can absolutely affect it. So for example, if Cynthia's asked for a reading, and I've read for Cynthia before, she's read for me, we both know that we struggle with work sometimes, there's no way that I cannot know that about her.
Mm-hmm.
If it starts going down the path of her job, well, yeah, I've got that knowledge, and I can't not know something. But again, it comes with that practice, and I've been doing this for so many years that I feel that I've gotten pretty good on taking my knowledge, my feelings out of the reading and simply being the conduit to pass along the messages from Spirit.
Perfect. So we're now coming up on our next break. So any questions that we're going to talk about now are going to be short answered. So I have issues with reading people I know, only because I feel like I know too much and that I am going to be right about most of the stuff because I already know them. But I think that's more intuition about that person than it is a spirit or something telling me. Make sense?
Yeah, it absolutely makes sense. And I
know. Like I said, we're coming up on that top of the hour break, and it's going to be hard to answer anything that's going to not take more than a minute to answer.
Yeah.
So, do you know what you're going to be speaking about at Spook Show Con?
Tom, do we know what I'm going to be speaking at Spook Con?
Okay, so we don't know yet. So there's the answer to that question. So that was an easy one.
He may have told me. I just don't remember.
Well, I don't think we know the answer to that yet. We're waiting on the answer to that question. So, Dara, you will find out the answer to that question when you attend Spook Show Con on August 17th in DeKalb, Illinois. And if you need tickets, go to spookshowcon.com and you can get your tickets. So, you're listening to WBHM-Digitalbroadcasting.com. We will be back in 5 minutes with Kelly McCarville.
public mourning and political finger-pointing. Lisa Brady, Fox News. A makeshift memorial keeps growing outside the Walmart in El Paso, where 22 people were killed on Saturday. Fox's Jeff Paul is there.
There are candles. There are nice messages on cards. There are, in fact, flowers being left. And you just constantly see more and more people showing up here. And some of the people that we have spoken with say that it was important for them to come out here to show how strong this community is and that this shooting does not define them.
Police haven't confirmed a motive, but are investigating what the suspect is believed to have posted online.
Officials who've read it say it is full of racist language and is very anti-immigrant.
Critics accuse the president of fueling hate. Today, he's calling for condemnation of racism, bigotry, and white supremacists.
These sinister ideologies must be defeated. Hate has no place in America.
He's urging bipartisan action in Congress to address gun violence, including mental health reform. A second mass shooting in Ohio also remains under investigation. Fox's Jeff Manasso with more live.
Police continues searching for evidence into what motivated the Dayton gunman to open fire on dozens of innocent people, killing 9 early Sunday, including his own sister. One neighbor of the gunman's family, Theo Gainey, telling Fox News,
I personally don't like to think anyone's capable of something that bad, but there was some instances of threats. There's plenty of people I'm hearing about from my town who did think it was possible.
The family's Bellbrook home was searched. The gunman's online and phone history is being tracked. Over 24 injured, 14 of them shot, 11 of whom are still hospitalized. Lisa.
Jeff, an hour to the close on Wall Street, a major sell-off continues, blamed on the China trade dispute. The Dow's down 869. The S&P also down more than 3%. The NASDAQ down about 4%. This is Fox News.
At TD Ameritrade, they're reinventing how you invest. Whether you want to place a trade on Facebook Messenger or get market news from your smart speaker, TD Ameritrade's technology is designed to bring the market to you. See what's new at tdameritrade.com/innovation. Member SIPC.
Iran claims it seized another oil tanker in the Persian Gulf for smuggling oil.
It's the third oil tanker Iranian forces have seized since mid-July. This one came from Iraq. Iraq's oil ministry denied any ties to the tanker. The oil tanker was seized near Farsi Island in the Persian Gulf, 400 miles from the Strait of Hormuz. The tanker was seized on the same day the Trump administration sanctioned Iran's foreign minister last Wednesday. Iran's top diplomat Javad Zarif says he was sanctioned after declining an invitation to visit the White House. Iranian state media says Senator Rand Paul proposed the meeting. At the Pentagon, Lucas Tomlinson, Fox News.
Meantime, Britain announcing today that the Royal Navy will work alongside the U.S. Navy to escort ships through the Strait of Hormuz, answering a call from the U.S. to help protect commercial shipping there. Germany, though, declines, saying it would only sign on to a European operation. A popular beach gets hit with multiple shark attacks in the same weekend.
It was an especially dangerous weekend, even for the so-called shark attack capital of the world, where 3 people were bitten, 2 Saturday, 1 Sunday.
Well, it's a lot in a short period of time.
A beachgoer on Florida's New Smyrna Beach, where officials say a 23-year-old woman was bitten on the hand and wrist Saturday. A short while later, a 21-year-old man bitten on the foot, and Sunday, a 68-year-old man was bitten on the foot as he was standing in knee-deep water. Lillian Wu, Fox News.
A late word of a big deal in the newspaper business. Gannett, which owns USA Today, is being sold to Gatehouse Media, which is a newspaper chain backed by an investment firm. The combined company would have more than 260 daily papers in the U.S. and more than 300 weeklies, the latest deal driven by the industry's struggles with a decline of printed editions. Recapping Wall Street, the Dow now down more than 900 points. An hour to the close.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting. The best in paranormal talk radio.
Welcome back to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 5 minutes after the hour.
Welcome back to the Paranormal Pride. I'm Denise Pridemore, and tonight my guest is Kelly McCarville Moonspinner. If you missed any part of this show, there will be an archive after this that will be available, so you can go back and listen to all the parts that you missed, because it's been a really good show. And we've had a lot of fun, and I'm finding out that Kelly and I have a lot more in common than I thought. No wonder my husband liked her so much.
I hadn't connected those dots, but okay.
Well, it's because, apparently he listened to you. See, that's the thing. You weren't me talking, so he actually listened to you. That's
too funny.
Well, after 35 years of marriage, he probably doesn't listen to me as much as I would like. So,
yeah.
It's just how it is.
It happens.
So
it happens.
We smile a lot, but that's how we are. We love each other. But I am really looking forward to whatever you speak about it at the show, at Spook Show Con, because I know that you're such an experienced speaker that you will entertain us with anything that you want to speak about.
Aww.
So, and I think that it will be, with all the other speakers, it is going to be a great show, and you are going to help make it one of the best shows of the year, and I have no doubt. So, everybody, you all keep that in mind, that if you miss Spook Show Con, you're missing probably one of the best shows, not because I'm involved, but because we have some of the best people involved. And I'm going to tell you something. These people are coming up with really the only incentive to come is to meet the people that are going to be there. The guests, not the people that are coming to speak, the guests, the people that are walking in that door paying to come. All these people are coming to see you. So Dara, they're coming to see you, and Gary and Carl, if you were coming, they would be coming to see you. They're not coming to see me, and they're not coming to see Tom. They're coming to see the person walking through that door. So
I'm coming to see you guys. Does that count?
Well, yes, but the thing is for you to meet that person that is being drawn there because they need to come in and meet you guys. There's a reason that they're coming.
Right.
And it doesn't have anything at all to do with anything other than either they need a reading from you, they're drawn there because one of our vendors has something that they think that they really want. And we've got some amazing vendors.
It's going to be a really good show. Yeah.
What are you selling anything at the show?
I will have some pendulums there with me, and I will have some hematite bracelets with me, and I'll have my T-shirts, and I will have my video on the table running now that I finally got done. I think that's all I have to sell.
Do you do anything with crystals at all?
I know crystals, and I can tell you some of the properties, and I carry them around myself, but I don't sell them, and I by no means am a crystal expert.
I just thought I'd ask, because a lot of people seem to think that, that mediums know all the realms of all of this stuff, and not necessarily are we knowledgeable about every facet of the world of mediumship and psychics and Reiki and all that. I mean, there's certain parts that we focus on. Like, if you came to me and asked me about Reiki, I'd be going, you're looking into a blank stare, because I'm going to be going, you need to go talk to someone else.
Right. And I can answer some questions about crystals. And I can, if someone asks me what it is, sometimes I'll be able to tell them what it is, but I'll be the first person to direct them over to an expert and say, go talk to this person if you want to know for sure, because they're going to be able to give you the real answers. Mine's just the little bits and pieces I've picked up along the way.
The parts that are important to you.
Yeah, and that's really it. It's stones that I've learned because I've got them myself, or stones that I've learned because somebody else has was trying to figure out what they needed for this. So we'd figure it out, and I'd learn it because I was helping somebody else with it, But I can't, if you ask me something obscure, I'm not going to be able to tell you anything fun about rocks, But I still believe them. I still believe in the crystals, and I'll carry them with me. And when I've got this or that going on, I'll go pick that particular rock out of my collection and take it with me. So
what are the properties of hematite?
So hematite is it's somewhat of a healing stone. It helps with blood circulation. So the reason that I actually started learning about hematite is I was at a show. It was one of our shows, and we had a vendor there that was selling it. And we were talking, and she said it can help with migraines. It can help with headaches. And I used to get just ridiculous, horrible headaches all the time, almost daily basis. And I'm talking sometimes like throwing up, seeing spots, bad headaches. And I thought, you know what? They're kind of cute anyways. And I was thinking about it just because I thought they were cute. If it helps with a headache, double bonus. So I bought one. And it really did help. It really did help me not have as many headaches. I'm not going to say that I never get headaches anymore, but it's a whole lot better. And I'll notice, like, if I forget to put my bracelets on one day and I start getting a headache, I'll look down and my bracelets aren't there. And it's like, oh, well, there you go, But they can help with joint pains. They can help with anxiety, depression, just kind of body aches and pains and spirit aches and pains types and stuff. Yeah.
Are you talking the magnetized hematite or the non-magnetized?
The ones that I use are magnetic, yes.
Because it's found here in Missouri, well, over in Missouri. I'm 5 miles from Missouri. But in Missouri, it's just everywhere in the Ozark Mountains.
Really?
The magnetic and the non-magnetic, it's just easy to find down there. And so it's just, you can be walking around and you'll just find it laying on the ground.
So when you walk over it, do you all of a sudden get stuck to the ground? All the things start falling out of your pockets because of the magnets.
Well, it's teeny tiny. They're usually, you can't find these big, huge pieces like you can get at the crystal shops. But there are times that you can find, in the bed, there's a lot of bedrock down there. Mm-hmm. It's like coal down there. You can find these big, huge places where there's a lot of EMF due to hematite.
That's just too funny. My brain just went all sorts of funny places and visuals with that.
Well, think about it. The Ozark Mountains are one of those strange places where weird stuff happens.
Yeah.
There's UFO sightings. There's Bigfoot. There's spirits. There's some strange things occur down there that you can't explain with people. That could be part of it. That's why in the Ozarks you get EMF in places where there's no electricity. And it's not spirit related. It is mineral related. So it's just kind of weird. But if you don't know geology, that it's in the ground, it's just like iron. Iron will do the same thing. It'll give off high EMF. And so say you're in a coal mine and you're suddenly getting high EMF. Well, it's not because there's a spirit there. It could be because you're buying iron ore, it could just be right there. So it's
think
just
about what's
really
around,
funny.
guys. You got to think about what's around.
But, so that's one of the things. But a lot of hematite, you can get it and it's not charged. Right? And then you can charge it and it'll be magnetic. So we have it all over our house above our doorways. Because we had spirits that kept coming and going, and my children kept saying, we have this tall man in our house, and he's been here since we went to Waverly Hills, and we brought a rock home. We shouldn't have brought home a rock. And we didn't even go all the way on the property. We were just at the gate. And so I had to do something. This was early on. I'm sorry, everybody. I did something bad. And so I had to do that for my kids. So we have above our doors when you come in the house and above their bedroom doors, just because. So That's what we use it for, is to keep the spirits out of their rooms. Spirit can go as far as their door, but can't go in.
Right.
So it was weird, of course. So, but are there any other crystals that you tell people, hey, these might be helpful for something?
It really just kind of depends on what they have going on. If somebody asks me what they should take with them if they're going paranormal investigating, well, black tourmaline's a great one. If someone's like, I'm just really struggling with clarity, well, crystal quartz is great. I'm having trouble with my emotions, well, some rose quartz. It really just depends on what it is. And there's probably a whole bunch of other stones that can help with all of those things. Those are just the ones that I know.
Right. I mean, I was given black tourmaline because I was being attacked.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently I didn't have enough. Let's just call it that. I didn't have enough black tourmaline. But I had, and some people take them and put them in medicine bags. How do you carry your crystals? Do you just put them in your pockets? Do you put them in a little medicine bag?
Usually in my pocket, if I have pockets, and if I don't, then they're usually in my bra.
Well,
my other pocket.
Well, it is called the over-the-shoulder boulder holder. I mean,
there you go. It's funny, though, because I'll forget, and at the end of the night, I am changing into my pajamas, and these rocks all hit the floor. It's like, oh, yeah. Anyways.
You get your rocks off. It's a whole other thing. So, well, I mean, it happens. I mean, as women, that's where we end up putting stuff a lot. Me, I always have jeans, so I always have pockets, so it's not a big problem. But I know that Coyote Chris, he makes medicine bags, and in a lot of his medicine bags, there will be crystals in those medicine bags.
Yep, I have actually one from him that I haven't opened it for his request, but I'm pretty sure there's crystals in it.
You can probably feel them. But
what's that?
I said you could probably feel them.
Yeah,
yeah. But, like I said, knowing Chris, I know that that's probably that there's probably stones in there.
Oh, absolutely.
But, I've known him 10 years, and I've never gotten a medicine bag from him. So, I got to talk to that man. But
it was a needed thing. So, Chris has kind of taken me under his wing, and he's just a really good guy.
Oh, well, then I'm going to have to tell you some stories. I'll have to sit down and tell you.
A little dirt about him is always fun, but he's just kind of become one of my mentors, and he's just an amazing guy, and we've got a really, really close relationship, and I love him to death.
In all honesty, there is no dirt about Coyote Chris.
I don't know.
It's all diamonds. It's all diamonds. I have nothing. There has never been a negative word said about that. He is the most helpful, good guy that I've ever known. Yes, and no, the story that we'll share. He'll probably be right there with me when I share it. It's hilarious, and we share it because of the fact that some guy called me in Kansas, who lives in Alton, who needed help. So, that I couldn't deal with it being in Kansas.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I had to find someone, and I had to find someone that was patient.
Yep.
And wouldn't slap the guy upside his head. Because Sandy Little Lizard would have slapped him upside his head. Okay? I only know two mediums two psychic medium shaman type people in Alton, Chris and Sandy. Mm-hmm. And like I said, Sandy would have knocked the living crap out of the guy. So we knew which route I had to go.
Right.
So that tells you something about that person. But everyone, we're at our next break. So if you have any questions for Kelly or me, please put it in the chat, and we will get those questions asked. You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama, and we'll be back in 3 minutes.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The opinions of hosts and guests do not necessarily reflect the opinion of this network.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
To the believer, the evidence is overwhelming. To the skeptic, there will never be enough. Hello everyone. Join Kevin and Jennifer Malik, the host of Paraversal Universe, every Friday here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting. Also heard on WCET-FM and The Rift. Log on or tune in as they check out the mysteries found within the 8 categories of the unknown and unexplained, including ghosts and haunted places, aliens and UFOs, theology and mythology, cryptids and monsters, urban legends and folklore, conspiracies, metaphysics, and forbidden archaeology. Listen as Kevin and Jennifer interview the top minds in their respective fields as they share theories and information regarding these unsolved mysteries. For future show and archive information, one can find Paraversal Universe on Facebook, Twitter, and MeWe under various Paraversal Universe headings. So, for excellent talk radio about the unknown and unexplained, check out Paraversal Universe, where all paranormal perspectives apply. Brought to you by the Northern Wisconsin Paranormal Society, Ltd., and produced by WBHM-DB.com.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 45 minutes after the hour. Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 23 minutes after the hour.
Welcome back to the Paranormal Pride. I'm your host, Denise Pridemore, and my guest tonight is Kelly McCarville, Moonspinner. We have been talking about so many different things tonight, and we have talked about, we've talked about tarot cards, we've talked about mediumship, we've talked about stones, we've talked about different divination methods, whether they be electronic or non. We've talked about some events. Do you have any other events coming up besides Spook Show Con?
Actually this weekend I will be out at the Haunted for Our Schoolhouse just outside of Des Moines, and I'll actually be with Coyote Chris Sutton, along with Brandy Green from Ghost Hunters International, Chris Nielsen from Paranormatic, and the Southern Gypsies. So we're hosting a para-family fundraiser, and it's to help raise money for Will Conkle. He'd broken his foot, and he wasn't able to work for a while, and obviously racked up some medical bills needing surgery. So we're just doing a little fundraiser to help cover some of that for him.
I know that we were asked to come up by some friends, and we're going another direction. It's Ron's birthday, so Ron's going to be 35. So we have to go visit. We're going to go visit his mom, and brothers. So we're going to go visit. Yeah. And it's also the weekend of some other things. There's a lot of things going on in August. So but
these
winter
sorry.
No, say it.
I was just gonna say these next 2 weeks are crazy. I mean, so I've got my show Wednesday night with the Southern Gypsies, and then I'm at Farrar on Saturday, and then Tuesday I fly out to go to Pennhurst. Okay. And so we're gonna stay in Gettysburg and go investigate Pennhurst, and then be in Gettysburg for a little bit, and then I'll fly back home, and then I come out to DeKalb with you guys for the weekend. And then the following weekend, midweek, I take off and go to Michigan to go to the MI Paracon up there, which is a huge, huge Paracon. So it's just, it's a whole lot of stuff going on.
Got lots of vacation then, huh?
Not anymore.
Well, had.
Thank God I had as much vacation as I did, because I spoke for every hour of it.
Yeah.
It is all scheduled out.
That's what we were just saying. We haven't had really a free weekend in a while, but last year we didn't do hardly anything because I was sick all last year. So it works out that, this year we're doing some things and getting to try to get out there and have some fun. And I just don't want to do all cons. That's the big thing. I just don't want to do all cons. So so I really wanted to make sure that people know, hey, if you want to see me at a con, you're going to have to come to these ones that I'm going to. It's only a few, and this is the furthest north, people, I'm going is DeKalb. I am not going any further north than that. So if you want to see me, you're going to have to come to DeKalb. But that's just how it is. I mean, if I had known about some of these other ones that were south, I probably would have went, but I don't usually go north. And some of the ones you had were in bad weather, weren't they? In the snow and stuff up there.
When I went out to New York, I dealt with a little bit of weather. Yeah, it wasn't horrible by any means, but I ended up driving out to New York for that one because I procrastinated too long getting my flight tickets, and they were super duper expensive. So I drove, and it was fine getting out there. But on the way home, I ran into a little bit of snow, but it wasn't horrible.
Well, they know how to treat the roads out there.
They have to.
Yeah. Well, like I said, being from out that area, I mean, being from Baltimore, we always knew how to treat our roads out there. So. And Dara, the answer to your question is yes. The Red Roof Inn does have a pool. So I don't know if it's indoor or outdoor, but the picture is very pretty. So it looks like it's outside. So everybody bring your swimsuits. So
I think I'll spare you guys all that. Ugh.
And that's true. Tom also says you can see Denise at the McPike Mansion camp out in October. That's October 19th. That's like a Paracon. We only have one vendor there, and it's McPike Mansion. But you get to meet, if you ever get a chance to go to McPike Mansion for an event, because I know that you've been there.
Yep.
Because I saw pictures.
Yeah.
Yep. It was after Mineral Springs.
It was, yeah.
Yes. See, I paid attention. If you ever get to go for an event and actually be with the people there, we have a great time, and you get to camp on the property. And just imagine that property that you saw, minus some of the trees that were down when you were there,
yeah,
with tents everywhere.
That would be crazy.
So, it is, and all you get to hear is somebody yelling my name all the time, but that's fun. I love it. I think it's the best thing about it is that I get to go and I get to have fun, and we get to mingle with people that all want to know more about the paranormal. And not that we all think the same, because we don't, but we all get to talk about all of that stuff, and you make good friends. And the thing is, you only get to see those people once a year in most cases.
And that's part of the reason that I love doing these events like this is, just getting to spend time with people who are like-minded and who understand you when you say something or don't look at you crazy when they mention some haunted location and you squeal a little bit because it's so much, you're so excited, like I went out to the New Jersey Paracon in May. I think it was May. I met a lot of people, and I've become friends with a lot of the people that were out there. So every time I go someplace, I come home with new friends, and it's an amazing thing. I'm very lucky.
You are. We have a question in the Spreaker chat from Fred. He asks, how would you suggest to a paranormal team that they best incorporate the abilities of a medium or a psychic to their investigations?
So I think that first off, I would highly encourage every paranormal team to at least consider it. I know that, a lot of teams like to stick on the scientific side of things, but there's, like I said in the beginning of the show, there's so much that can be gained from having intuition, from having someone with abilities there to get that information too. I think the best way to incorporate them is when you first hit a location, almost investigate separately. So it truly is, like I said, I'll go in and I'll do a blind walkthrough. I'll go through without any tools in my hand except maybe a recorder. And I'll do my walkthrough and I'll record my impressions and I'll get, I'll have the conversations with any spirits that want to talk to me. And we record all of that. And then someone from the scientific side should do a walkthrough of the location, and they should get their baseline readings and they should get their impressions and any information that they get from their initial walkthrough. And then you merge the two of those things together. The way that it can work, the way that they can benefit each other is, when you're in a place as big as, say, Waverly Sanitarium, it's huge. It is absolutely huge. And even with a full team, you could spend all night walking around hoping that you got in the right location to have communication with a spirit. If you have a medium with you, they can tell you exactly where to go. They can say, this is the room that we need to go into, or they've told us to go here, And so you don't have to do that hunting and pecking to find where you're going to have that interaction. They can guide you there. But then incorporate it by also using those tools to back up the impressions that the sensitive is getting, because it's just going to add validation to both sides of things. It's going to validate the information that's coming out of the tools, and it's going to validate the information that the sensitive is getting.
I agree. I think that in a place that big, you need somebody to, focus, try to get your attention focused on a certain area. It'd save you a lot of time, especially when you got 5 floors.
Right, exactly. And it's huge, crazy, crazy huge. But it was fun. Don't get me wrong. But oh my God, I felt like I was 127 years old when I walked out of there. Because it was so much work.
Well, yeah, some of these places that you go to, we talked about this, my husband and I on Saturday night, about some of these places that you go into, that you go in and you're so refreshed and you're only there 4 hours and suddenly you're completely drained, not only of, you're feeling dehydrated, but you're just drained of all your energy.
Yeah.
And other places you go to, you're still energized after 4 hours. You're ready to go for more and more. And I think it's because you've got the positive spirits or the negative spirits, and they're draining all of you. Draining all of your energy from you.
And most of the time I don't get affected too much with the spirit energy. That's one of the things that a lot of people have told me, and it kind of goes with my personality, I'm sure, but I'm pretty reserved with myself. I have a lot of walls that I keep up on a regular basis. And with my intuition too, I just have this natural guard up, a natural protection and defense up. And I think that, it was something that I had to work on at first to try to figure out how to use it better, but now it's just always there. So I'm pretty lucky that I can go into some pretty rough places and not have it just completely wipe out my energy. Mine's definitely a physical thing because I'm old and fat, but but there are still cases that I'm just whooped when I walked out of there. The first time that we went to Villisca, we were there on the 104th anniversary, and basically I was shown the entire thing. I was seeing it as it was happening, and that one hit me hard. I was pretty wiped when that was done.
I can imagine, and every time we walk in there, it takes me 2 weeks to recover.
Yeah,
and I don't know if it's a different perspective, but my husband's great uncle was the sheriff in that investigation.
Oh, wow. Really?
So every time we walk in the door, we start having activity almost immediately.
Right.
And I don't know if it's a na 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 kind of thing, or is it because the spirits there know us from us coming there so often, or is it because of the fact that they see Orrin Jackson when we walk in the door? Here's a police officer and they know him and they feel comfortable. I don't know what it is, but there's all these different things that happen. Or is it, who is it that's seeing us? We have all kinds of things happen there, and Villisca is one of those places where no one is ever going to agree on what happened there. I mean, not that these people didn't die there. Everybody agrees on that. But how it happened, no one's ever going to agree on that. There are 30, 40 books on it. There are video upon video of it. There is no way. I mean, even so-called experts have their theories on what happened that they try to pass off as fact.
Right. And that's what I was going to say is I can tell you exactly what they've shown me. And they've done it twice. Both times I've been there, they let me see the exact same thing. But I can't prove that that's what happened or how it happened or why it happened. But I can definitely tell you that I believe I know what it is, but is that enough to say without a shadow of a doubt for facts, this is what happened? No, I don't have any facts.
No,
I have
only what facts we have is this part. These are the names of the people who passed here.
8 people died that night. Yep.
And this is how they died. We don't know exactly what order. They can only surmise from the forensics at the time that was messed up. And when I say the forensics were messed up, people were already in there before the cops got there to do the whole investigation. And I'm sorry, but those houses were that close together back then. The lady next door heard something. She heard something. She was guilty of hearing something and not doing anything. That's just my thought. There's no way that she didn't hear something. Somebody had to have screamed out at some point. So, because I know that you could hear Johnny's kid crying in the house next door when you're in the house.
Yeah.
When the air's off. So I know, that's what I know for a fact, being there as many times as we've been there. Do I know for a fact that this woman wasn't hard of hearing? No, I don't know that. But if she could hear without a problem, she heard something.
The funny part is, though, there wasn't much to hear. There really wasn't, because there were there were 4 of them that woke up. Sarah woke up when her husband was struck, but he was so quick she didn't get much sound out before he'd hit her too. The littlest child had woken up. But if you live next door to him, like you were saying, so you heard Johnny's baby crying when you guys were there, but if you live next door, you'd be used to that sound. You wouldn't think anything of it, No. The Stillinger girls, they were awake, but they were trying desperately not to be heard because they hoped he didn't know that they were there. And he didn't at first. He did not know that they were there. It wasn't until he had gone downstairs and he was in the kitchen, that he caught sight of the littlest one. And yeah.
And there's a lot of stuff that was kept from the press on all of it. And like I said, there's some stuff that if you get into the historical records that you can get to, but it's a lot of stuff that nobody really wants to read. And when we get into it more, it's the worst unsolved crime in that county. Same as the worst unsolved crime in Miami County, where I live, are the murders that happened 4 days before.
Right.
By supposedly, allegedly, the same guy.
With a lot of similarities, yeah.
Yeah. And not only that, there was some before that and after that. So it's just, like I said, we could sit here and debate the Villisca Axe murders all night long and say why we think it could be this guy, why we think it could have been two people versus one, why we think it could have been somebody for hire, why it could have been
show in
this
and
person
of
over this. It is. It's an amazing. I mean, if you could talk to 10 different paranormal investigators, and 10 different ones are going to have totally different ideas of what actually happened based on their research and what they had happen to them while they were in that house.
Yeah. Yep.
So, and nobody is ever going to agree on who it was.
And even if we all agreed, can we prove it? No. But there is some deathbed testimony that could be used, that would have been used back in the day if they had used it, but they won't. But It's too late now. Yep. I mean, everybody's dead. It's definitely too late now because he's dead.
Yeah, everybody related to this is gone. So, like I said, this could be a panel discussion at any paranormal conference. Get a bunch of people together that have ideas about the Villisca Axe murders. I've talked about it many times as to what my theory is, but we're not going to go into my theory because this is about you. So we do have some questions in the chat room that we could probably. Here's one. Could you see the killer's face when you were at the Villisca Axe murder house?
Yes.
Okay. Are you writing a book about it?
I have not written a book about Villisca in itself, but I have started trying to keep a diary basically of some of the experiences that I've had, and the thoughts, I guess, because I've had a lot of people ask me to, is that eventually I'll start putting some of this all together in a book. I know I've already got someone who said he'll publish for me. So,
okay.
I just
That's
need to.
That's perfect because we're going to stop right now because we got our last break. You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 45 minutes after the hour.
Welcome back to the Paranormal Pride. This was our last break, so if you guys have any questions for Kelly, please put them in the chat, and I will make sure that they get asked. Dara has another question for you in the chat, and she asks, what is one of your favorite places to investigate?
Oh, man. For the longest time, my favorite place to go investigate was the Mason House Inn. And that is an old steamboat inn that's down in Bentonsport, Iowa, in southern Iowa. And it's just, it is the most comfortable place, and lots of spirits, and they like to interact with you. And it's my home away from home. The spirits there all know me, so they interact with me all the time. And I love it there. Still love it there. Absolutely on my top list. But Malvern has definitely climbed up to the top of that list too. It's a good place with lots of activity. Josh Glass, and shame that I've been there enough that I've gotten to know those spirits as well. And so, going there and being to continually interact with them is super fun. There's so many places. Hinsdale House, I was only there for just a little bit. I would love to get back out there and do a bigger investigation, because that's got a ton of history out there. That's such a hard question. Every place has got their own little thing, but yeah, favorite probably is going to be Malvern and Mason House, although Renwick Mansion is great, and Cambry House is really, really cool. There's so many places. I don't know. I can't answer that question.
Well, we all have those places that we have a go-to place, and then we have places we want to go to. So, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought I went completely mute there. But I know how it is with Malvern. I got physically attacked there, and so not once but twice. So I understand the draw of Malvern. So it's always good to like I said, to have those places. I know that we all have a bucket list location. Do you have one of those?
My bucket locations would probably be, I want to get overseas. I want to go to like some of the castles, and I don't even have any in particular that I want to get to. I would love to get into an Egyptian tomb.
Not one with a curse, right?
Oh, well, if you believe in curses, but
I don't know if any of those people in King Tut's tomb actually believed in them.
Yeah, I don't know.
That was a big thing when I was a kid. I don't even think you were born at the time when they brought King Tut to the Smithsonian.
Yeah.
And because I remember when they brought him there, it wasn't the first time. It was the second time they brought him out and about, and they were talking about all of the curses and stuff. And, and of course, every time they do that, it brings out the Egyptian culture to the children, and everybody gets all excited about it. So it was just one of those things that, you always remember that all these people died. And it's like, well, you know what? Everybody who goes to Malvern Manor dies at some time, not necessarily right after.
Yeah, exactly.
So you could say something like that, but that wouldn't be true.
Right.
It's just kind of fun.
And part of the reason, like, I'd like to go to the castles or England, for example, it has as much to do with the history as anything else. Just the thoughts that you're walking in something or on something that people walked on hundreds or, like the tombs thousands of years ago. And just that historical aspect of it would be so phenomenal. But, even here in the U.S., there's still places I'd like to get to. I'm going to Penhurst, which is one of them I get to check off my list, and I'm a little giddy about that. Queen Mary is definitely a place. I'd like to get to the Lizzie Borden house, which actually Dustin's at Lizzie Borden tonight. He's no fun. Trying to think where else I'd want to. There's places. I mean, honestly, at this point, there's definitely places that are on my bucket list, but I'm grateful every time I get to go to a new location and check something out. And as much as these big places and these well-known places are fun, I like finding the little places that are just getting found, like the Cambry House and Farm that's in Nauvoo, Illinois. They're just coming onto the scene as a haunted location, but they've got a lot of history there, and they definitely have got spirit activity there. And I'm going to support them as much as I'm going to support a place like Penhurst because it's cool. It's a neat place, and the owner loves the location and has a ton of history. And so I like finding those places almost as much as I do the big places. I just have fun.
What is it about Iowa that is getting it on the paranormal map?
I think part of it is it's being more well accepted here. I think it definitely has something to do with that, is that the people in this area are open to the possibility of there being life after death and wanting to know about it. And because of that, that's helped encourage people to come out onto the scene more, It's part of the reason you're seeing more psychic mediums coming out of the woodwork, because they're building that confidence. Of course, you're also finding the ones who are just out there to make a buck, but I think that's part of it. And I think just as a whole, the world is kind of opening up, and, I know how cliche it sounds, but that veil's getting thinner, and it's easier for us to interact with them now.
Why do you believe the veil is getting thinner?
I think part of it has to do with an energy shift. I think that, when you get the belief that the people have and the openness that people have to have those experiences, it puts more energy out there that the spirits can then use to interact with you. And thinking about a spirit can call in a spirit. We were talking about this just last weekend for Malvern Manor, because one of the spirits that's at Malvern her name is Inez. And in reality, she didn't die at the manor. She never lived there. There's no real history of her ever being at the manor. She was buried a couple blocks away. She did live in Malvern. But I think what drew her to the manor is somehow that story got started that she was there, and maybe her spirit was there, and it just happened once and it ran with it from there. But because so many people go in to talk to her there, it draws her energy there now. And now that is her home.
With that, I can go with that. I cannot go with some of that. Some of the stuff that's been said, because I know that she lived in the house across the street. So when you stand at the front door and you look across the street at the White House, that's where she lived.
Okay, I didn't know.
I have the census.
Live there.
Yeah, I have the census from that time. So the first time I went, I didn't do any research, like I said before. I have a book called The History of Malvern, Iowa, and so I have all of that. And so I have all of this stuff about it. And, I have never heard anybody else say that out loud besides me. So when we do events there with, our own group, it's not a public event, it's a private event with our own group. I tell him, go on the tour with Josh and hear what he has to say. And then when he's done, I'll tell you what I know.
You know, the funny part about Malvern is I've been there. I can't even tell you how many times at this point that I've been to Malvern. I still have yet to take the tour with Josh. I've never taken the tour because I went in blind, and then every time we've gone since, I'm kind of treated more as a friend than as a guest, and I'm fine with that. But it dawned on me I've never taken the tour. So, but Inez was a weird one because everybody talked about her, and I really didn't pick up on her until one of these last few times I started. They were saying, well, she lived in town and that she was hung in the closet, and I just got this. No, I didn't, and I'm like, and the story started coming out, and it's like, once I got her story, now I connect with her when I go down there, but it's like, she needed me to know her truth first before she was going to talk to me. She wasn't going to feed into the incorrect information, information.
And I, the first time we went on the tour, I'm walking through there and I have spirits telling me no. Okay, so you basically kind of got the same thing on that. Maybe not exactly in the same places probably, but Ron's cousin. Long story, and we're not going to go into it. But Ron's family is in the area. Okay, so for people who don't know, Malvern Manor is about 35 miles maybe from Villisca.
Yeah.
West, basically you can go take this road to this right straight across, and you're there. And so Ron's family's in the area, and we got family stories about the place. Ron's mom, when we told her we were going, she was, is that big weird place on the corner in Malvern?
Yep.
Okay, she remembered it from in the 50s.
Oh wow.
Okay, so needless to say, we have some stuff. We have family stories from before, when it was the Potter Hotel, when it was, the nursing home, and all this other stuff. So we have a lot of different things from family stories that we can go into. But, when I went in there, it's like, I got all kinds of other stuff. And I was, like I said, that's why I tell people who haven't been there with us before, I tell them, go take the tour with Josh or whoever's giving the tour and enjoy it. And then I'll tell you whatever you have questions on.
Yeah. And one of the things that I like about Josh is he's very careful to try to make sure that he gets the right information. And so he won't hear a story once and go run with it. It's got to be something that's heard multiple times before he's going to start saying, well, this is the story. This is what they've gotten through multiple investigations, through multiple sources. So it was multiple people that were giving that same story for Inez. And who knows how that came about. But, it was funny because we had one of the experiences that when we were at Malvern, like I said, he'll gather the stories from people who are there, but he doesn't share them with people.
No.
And we were down there and it got to the end of the night and it was just me and Josh and one other lady that was with us, and we're doing a walkthrough. And earlier in the night, I had seen a new spirit at the manor, and I didn't know who he was. I'd never seen him before, and I kept trying to get him to talk to me and tell me who he was, and he was pretty standoffish. But when we finally went upstairs, he finally started talking to me. And so I was repeating back some of the stuff that he was saying to me, to Josh and Charla. And I'd asked him what his name was, and he said his name was Jeff. And I told Josh, he says his name is Jeff. And I saw his jaw drop a little bit, and he quickly composed himself like, I'm not reacting, And so we talked a little bit more, and I'd ask a few questions, and then I'd keep going back to the same question of, why haven't I seen you before? And he just kept giving me the same answer of, I'm new here. And so finally, after I'd asked it like 3 or 4 times, I turned to Josh and I said, he won't tell me where he came from or why. All he keeps telling me is he's new here. And for anybody who knows Josh, he's very reactive in his reactions.
Well, yes, his face takes on a whole new look sometimes.
Yeah.
His eyes bulge.
His jaw literally hit the floor, and he's like, "You have got to be kidding me." So finally I got the story from him that, after the past 2 or 3 weeks prior to me going in there, he had multiple teams that were coming up to him and giving him feedback about their time of investigating. And they kept saying that there was a Jeff. And for the most part, all he'd ever say is, "I'm new here." And so Josh had been getting that information from multiple teams on different investigations on different nights. And there I came in without any tools, and I confirmed it by talking to Jeff.
Well, you know what? That is an amazing story. I'm so grateful that you were able to share it. But we are done for tonight. I would like to thank you so much for being on. And everyone, you're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. Please tune in next week when my guest is Gwen Allen. And I have to do my research on her some more so I can tell you some more about her. But I know she's out of Utah and she's friends with Coyote Chris. So it's going to be fun to visit with her. And we are going to be out of here. And we'll tune into the other shows on WBHM Digital Broadcasting. We'd love to have you listen in. Thank you all and have a great night.
Thank you.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting. The best in paranormal talk radio.